Last week, we discussed Kentucky cornerback Lonnie Johnson Jr. and his potential fit with the Cowboys' defense. The idea was that while many of his coverage skills are raw and need substantial development, his height, weight, length fit exactly what Kris Richard tends to look for. Notre Dame's Julian is almost the opposite of this. The 5 feet 11 inches, 190-pound cornerback is far from the long and strong prototype which may catch Richard's eye, but his man coverage skills are as refined as you'd hope for in a day 2-3 pick. The player Julian put up outstanding numbers while in Notre Dame, capping it all off with a 63 tackle, 3 for loss, 16 pass deflection, 1 interception 2018 season. The pass deflection production is a good indication of what Love's ball skills are like, with good timing and reaction skills when the ball is put on him. Love's best trait is his man coverage, specifically his off coverage technique. He is excellent at playing off the receiver, and then breaking forward to contest the catch with excellent timing. This reliance on timing could result in some pass interference calls at times if he arrives too early, though. Love has good speed as well, and can carry receivers vertically in man coverage as well as break with them suddenly to stay in good position. Love is a good tackler, especially for a cornerback. Sometimes he will get sloppy in his technique in the open field, diving at the legs of the ball carrier, but more often than not he wraps up and is reliable as a tackler on the outside. He's not exactly a top-tier run support cornerback, but he's certainly not a liability either. What would worry me most about drafting Julian are his measurables, though we don't know what they are officially just yet. I'm really interested to see what his arm length is at the combine, as well as what he runs in the 40. He doesn't appear to have any athletic trait which jumps off the page, though he is good enough in those categories to remain solid on the field. A good combined performance would likely propel him well out of the Cowboys' range. The fit I sought out to watch prospects which the Dallas Cowboys could have a chance of drafting in the second round. But the more I watched Julian, the more I thought he must be a top 5 to 6 cornerback in this draft class. And if that's the case, they probably won't have a chance to make him a Dallas Cowboy anyway. With that being said, Love is going to be a starting cornerback in the NFL. And he will be that just about immediately. I believe he will be better on the outside than in the slot, making him an attractive prospect for Dallas depending on how they plan to handle Byron Jones and Anthony Brown's contract situations next offseason. Though he doesn't have the body type to fit what Kris Richard tends to covet, he is certainly a solid man cover corner who will make his money in that type of scheme. I wouldn't ask him to drop in cover 3 often at all. In fact, I don't want him playing much zone coverage whatsoever. But as a man corner, Julian will find himself taken within the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft. Name: Jalen Hurd. Position: wide receiver. School: Baylor Conference, Big 12 class, senior jersey, no. 5 recruitment rating, 4-star HT, 6 feet 4 inches WT, 229 DOB, January 23, 96. Highlights from Jalen Hurd's senior season at Baylor. Baylor WR Jalen Hurd Sr. 6, 5,230 pounds. All rights go to the Baylor University, ESPN, Fox Sports, Baylor Athletics, Universal Music Group, the Big 7 Conference, the Big 7 Media Network, and the NCAA. Before we get to know Jalen Hurd the player, I thought it would be a good idea to tell you a little bit about his background. Not only was he a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, but he was also considered a top running back prospect, potential first-rounder, during his time at Tennessee. Despite being a highly touted RB prospect, he thought it was in his best interest to transform himself into a wide receiver in order to prolong his career. That was the driving force behind him transferring to Baylor. True to his word, he reinvented himself from a 6 feet 4 inches, 240-pound RB to a 6 feet 4 inches, 229-pound WR, turning him into one of the more intriguing prospects in the entire 2019 draft class. pros. Putting aside everything he brings to the table as a running back, Jalen Hurts actually checks all of the boxes for what NFL teams look for in a prototypical wide receiver. He has the desired size, speed, athleticism, and natural receiving ability to become a starter in the league. Even though he basically has just 1 year of experience at WR, you can really see the work he's put in to not only transform his body, but learn the nuances of his new position. I think that's a testament to his hard work and dedication. He is a natural hands catcher and easily snatches the ball out of the air with his 10 and an 1/8 inch hands. Has a large catch radius and has shown the ability to high point the ball in contested catch situations or go down low to secure the catch. Operated mostly out of the slot at Baylor, but has the ability to play on the outside as well. Shows loose hips and good change of direction ability on film, although he's never going to be considered a quick-twitch athlete due to his size. Is at his most dangerous after the catch when he immediately goes from WR to RB. More slippery than you'd imagine for a player his size. Tracks the ball well down the field and is fearless carrying his routes across the middle. His strength and the length make him a formidable blocker as well. Cons, as you would imagine, the majority of Jalen Hurts' cons are mostly due to the fact that he's new to the wide receiver position. Needs a clean release off the line of scrimmage, otherwise, he is too easily thrown off of his route. He will likely have to play out the slot until he is able to learn how to beat press coverage at the next level. With time that should improve though, because he has the strength and the length to succeed. Hurts is still really raw as far as his football IQ and route running is concerned at his new position. Needs to become more detail-oriented in regards to his stance, release, stem adjustments, and ability to read coverage. Shows pretty good footwork to get in and out of his breaks, but isn't what you would describe as springy. He is a long strider who can eat up a lot of ground quickly though. Cowboys fit. The Dallas Cowboys could be looking for someone to replace Cole Beasley's production on those short to intermediate routes. This is where Jalen Hurts will be the most effective until he can fine-tune some of the raw aspects of his game. He can be a mismatch player against linebackers, safeties, and nickel cornerbacks as a rookie due to his mere size and athleticism. Not only would he provide some much-needed size and depth to the wide receiver position, but he could also contribute as a running back from time to time. Think of how the New England Patriots use Cordarrelle Patterson as both a WR and RB. That could free up an extra roster spot that would have gone to a backup RB. He hasn't contributed a lot on special teams, but his background as a running back and his slipperiness in the open field could be useful as a punt and kick returner. Overall, Jalen Hurts is an intriguing prospect for the Dallas Cowboys. He's just starting to scratch the surface of his potential as a wide receiver, but in a year or two could be one of the better playmakers to come out of this draft class. This is someone the Cowboys will more than likely have participating at Dallas Day for local prospects, which should put him on their radar if he isn't already. The NFL Scouting Combine is only a few days away as on-field workouts will begin on Friday, March 1st. It's a special event for many draft fans and a time to discover great athletes and raw ability. It's also an important opportunity for prospects to make their stock go way up, and sometimes watch it plummet. Personally, what I enjoy the most about the Combine is looking out for some relatively unknown names and see what they can do. A few weeks ago, NFL.com analysts Daniel Jeremiah and Lance Zierlein published an article on which player each team should be watching when the Combine kicks off. For the Dallas Cowboys, the name listed was defensive lineman L.J. Collier. During his time in college football, Collier lined up in a lot of positions for the TCU Horned Frogs. His production in 2018 was pretty solid, racking up 11.5 tackles for loss, 4 deflected passes and 6 sacks. He did this playing mainly as an edge defender, but if the Dallas Cowboys consider him at some point in the NFL draft, they should probably look at him as a defensive tackle. Weighing in at 280 pounds, this is a legit way of looking at Collier. He's got the size and has played in the interior before. When Rod Marinelli was in Chicago, he managed to handle Henry Milton's transition from edge rusher to defensive tackle. Transitioning Collier from one position to the other could be an interesting possibility for the Cowboys. Collier still has a long way to go and he shouldn't be seen as a potential starter in the NFL. However, he could become an important rotational player at defensive tackle. I would be interested in his value as a pass rusher in obvious passing downs, especially considering his impressive motor and just how competitive he is as a player. Collier will have to put on an impressive showing at the NFL Scouting Combine if he wants to climb those rankings, though. Many scouts are concerned about his burst and flexibility, and for good reason. Watching the film, he's not what you want in a pass rusher. I believe he wouldn't have a good time playing on the edge on Sundays. He'll have a chance to change some minds in Indianapolis. I'd expect Collier to be drafted in Day 3 of the 2019 NFL Draft. I'm convinced that as a late 4th-round pick he'd be able to contribute for some NFL team as a rotational player. For the Dallas Cowboys, defensive tackle is one of the most pressing needs heading into next season. A need that should be addressed before the 4th round but could still be benefited from a player like Collier. Although the Dallas Cowboys won't be on the clock in the first round of the 2019 NFL Draft, they essentially invested their first pick in Amari Cooper. However, wide receiver remains a need for the team, especially with Cole Beasley heading for free agency. Out of West Virginia, wide receiver David Sills is an interesting potential target for Dallas. A quarterback-turned-wide receiver story, Sills is one of those guys who constantly shows up when you watch his football team play. That's what you want in a receiver. Let's dive in. During his time playing for the West Virginia Mountaineers, David Sills was a scoring machine. He scored 35 career touchdowns, 15 in 2018, 18 in 2017, and caught over 980 yards in each of his 2 seasons as a starter. The Big 12 is known for its lack of good defensive backs, which will naturally raise skepticism when discussing how good Sills really is, but it shouldn't. Sills is 6'4" and weighs 210 pounds. His frame is constantly criticized, but thanks to his size and his excellent ability to high-point the football, that shouldn't be an issue. He's one of the best in this draft class when it comes to 50-50 jump balls. He shines the most as a vertical threat, including over the middle of the field, which should be an interesting trait for the Dallas Cowboys. Throughout his career, he was almost indefensible when given the opportunity at deep over-the-shoulder passes. Although he doesn't have the best acceleration, Sills' build-up speed can be lethal for opposing defensive backs. Paired with this is his skill to adjust for deep balls, slowing down when necessary to take on defenders. What I personally like the most about Sills is his play in goal line situations. Whether it's playing inside on a slant or running a fade route, the Mountaineer wide receiver surely made a lot of opposing defenses suffer. Thanks to his background as a quarterback, his understanding of defensive coverage is pretty solid. He manages to find the defense's soft spots and get open constantly. But why isn't he valued as a top prospect on this year's NFL Draft? Well, unfortunately, there are a few reasons for this. First off, David Sills had some problems in the drops department. He has plenty of body catches that aren't necessary. When balls weren't on target, he often didn't make the play despite counting with a pretty good catch radius. He can greatly improve in his route running abilities, and he was challenged by true press cornerbacks, struggling to release early. For the Dallas Cowboys, Sills could be a solid contributor as a vertical threat and in the red zone, where the offense struggled so much last season. With the class being quite loaded at wide receiver this year, Sills should be a realistic target even in the 4th round.